Hey. Hey, Kendrick really made me miss LA with this pop out and Kens and Friends. I'm gonna break this down from a licensed clinical perspective because I feel like the ending was epic. And if you guys missed it, make sure you guys check it out on Amazon if you have Amazon Prime. Dope concert. But I'm gonna break down the end because as men, I feel like it's really important to understand what Kendrick did at the end of his concert. So you guys sit back and we're gonna talk about it right now. What's good, y'all? My name is Terrence Stewart. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, licensed therapist, and I'm your men's mental health expert. Now, if you haven't caught the epic Kendrick Lamar concert that happened last night, hella epic, hella good. Um, I thoroughly enjoyed it. A lot of West Coast artists, a lot of specifically more LA artists was in the concert, and I personally enjoyed it. One of the things I really liked, before I even get to the mental health component of it, was I just enjoyed seeing Black Hippie all on one stage again. One of my favorite, super groups. If you guys don't know, Black Hippie is composed of K Dot, which is Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, Absol, and J Rock. I always used to love listening to them, always collaborate, and always doing, always sometimes doing separate songs, like Kendrick Lamar and Schoolboy Q may do a song, Absol and J Rock may do a song, Absol and Kendrick may do a song. So I enjoy listening to all the collaboratives all on one stage, and it was a beautiful thing to see. So obviously Kendrick Lamar, out of all the albums and all of his songs, this "They Not Like Us" song has taken his career to a whole nother level, and it's already, mind you, it was already up there. But this song, as trendy as it is, as good as it sounds, as as West Coast it is, and shout out to Mustard. Now, as I stated in my other videos, and I'm still standing on this, like I really don't condone the whole beefing situation or anything like that. But it was kind of interesting because I felt like in order for this to happen at the end of this concert, this beef had to happen. So it was kind of like, I feel, and I don't know if it's like a biblical sense. And I was talking to some people about it before, like Drake had to be like the sacrificial lamb for like this whole thing to even happen. So, but what Kendrick did at the end of his concert was he took a moment and he actually paused and he brought a lot of people on stage. And these just weren't regular people. These are artists, but these are also people that were from rival neighborhoods. Now, if you guys know LA, if you guys saw, like, it's a bunch of, a bunch of red, a bunch of blue. There was a bunch of folks on the stage that wouldn't normally be in the same vicinity, nor the same atmosphere, or even just sharing the same stage. So I feel like this was super epic and super, dope of Kendrick to do, because I personally never seen anything like this. And I feel like we need to see more of this, is where we have somebody like Kendrick Lamar, who is from Compton, who is from an area, he's not affiliated with any gangs, but he grew up in a Piru neighborhood. I think we still need to have more folks that are in these, these levels of power when we talk about the music industry, to build moments like this, because it is super important that we build unity. Like, I personally saw, like, I think I was counting all the hoods I saw on the stage, and I think I counted like just like 10, just off of like just people that I like, rappers I'll see, okay, I've seen RJ, I see Bino, I see G Perico. I saw, shout out to Big Hit, I seen Big Hit on the stage. There's YG, a bunch of other folks that are from LA that are affiliated with gangs. I feel like this was really like a huge Black Panther movement, because if you guys don't know the history of gangs in LA, there's a documentary called "The Bastards of the Party." You can check that on YouTube. "The Bastards of the Party." And pretty much what it means is, like, the Bastards of the Party, like the Bloods and Crip were. The Bloods and Crip were a subgroup of the Black Panther Party. And when you think about bastard, meaning fatherless, the Bloods and Crips are like fatherless because they didn't really have that that infrastructure to really, you know, figure out how to organize, figure out how to really move and maneuver things. gangs has really become very prominent, especially, gangs really started in Chicago, but gang banging, I would say, started in Los Angeles, and it's become a worldwide thing. Like you'll have like neighborhoods that, you have like the Rolling 60 neighborhoods in like different states, which is kind of crazy to, I think I wouldn't say crazy, but it's kind of interesting to me that, these neighborhoods in LA are actually branched off to, other states and also other countries as well too. Have you ever seen? There's a documentary. I believe it's on Hulu, but it's called Trafficked. And there's a part on there where it talks about Belize, and it's really interesting because if you think about these countries and a lot of folks coming to LA from different countries, Belize, Mexico, or any of like the Caribbean, even the Caribbean countries, a lot of folks, sometimes get deported. Sometimes they'll come to the United States, they'll be in LA, they might be affiliated with a gang and whatever, but they'll get deported. So there's like documentaries on how like these gangs, like people are claiming like these Crip gangs and blood gangs in different countries because you know they actually they actually, I guess, was put on in LA and actually moved, or was deported and had to go back to the country. It was interesting. And I use Belize as an example because I've been to Belize, but also I've seen that documentary. I seen somebody in Belize. They actually had a Crenshaw tattoo on their tattoo, and I asked him like, "Oh, are you from LA?" And he said, "No, I'm from '60s." And I said, it was kind of loud. And I was like, "Oh, you're from where?" He said, "Oh, at least I'm from Rolling '60s." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, I wasn't asking where you from, not trying to offend you or anything like that. But it was kind of interesting because even after that dynamic, and I heard, and I talked to my fiance because her family's from Belize as well too, and she was telling me those stories about like, yeah, a lot of people do get deported, a lot of people do like they'll bang and they might get in trouble with the law and they'll get deported. Um, I was using that example more so just to understand like how gang banging becomes global. Now it's not only with that, like sometimes folks may see something on TV or they may try to emulate a gang and they can start their own gang. Like there's no real parameters on like how to start a gang outside of Los Angeles like that. So I thought it was interesting because when we talk about men, we talk about black men, we talk about our own mental health. Many times, I know one of the things I struggled with before, and something that I continue to try to work on is many times I'm not too worried about other races attacking me. Many times, especially living in LA and the places I worked and the places I lived, when I was living in LA, it wasn't anybody that didn't look like me that was, trying to get at me. It was people that looked like me that's trying to get at me. You feel what I'm saying? Like people ask you, oh, where you from? Or like, trying to, press you and trying to, test your manhood a bit. You feel me? So I felt like even just from a standpoint of men's mental health, a standpoint of unity, a standpoint of which, we can or excuse me, what Kendrick did so that we can have this opportunity to just build unity is super important. Now, again, I feel like we need to build more moments like this because it's really up to us to really build these moments of unity. This happened on Juneteenth. I think it was a perfect way, especially in LA to, celebrate Juneteenth because Juneteenth, I know a lot of folks have a lot of things around that. It's like, oh, well, it's a holiday, but we're still not free. We're kind of free-ish. I'm a big component of like, there's racism and there's classism. Like the classism part is something that we need to really work on, especially when we talk about recycling our dollar and like how we spend our money and like how we, want to build businesses. That's primarily one of the reasons, one of the many reasons why I even moved to Houston because Houston's a big hub for black owned businesses. You see a lot of people that look like you that's doing great things. And a lot of times your environment has a lot to do with like how you behave and how you act. You feel what I'm saying? So when we talk about racism, classism, unity, we have to understand that, racism and classism are two different things. If we can get to a standpoint of where we can be more unified and we can, attack these infrastructures by, you know, developing more of our class. And the class isn't like, again, like being fancy. It's just like, what class are you in? You're in lower class, middle class, or upper class, you know? And there's ways in which, we can maneuver, where we can maneuver. Now, realistically, I know sometimes folks will be like, well, the infrastructure and the system and things of that nature. I mean, there's so many different ways, in my opinion, that you can make money, especially as us being the creators of the culture, us, we really move the needle in like how things move and shift. We just don't own, the things that make it move and shift. We have influence, but we don't have no stake or no stock. We don't have no equity in all this. So, Kendrick, I really commend you. I know most definitely, again, don't agree with the whole back and forth, the beef situation, but after last night, I mean, again, Drake might have had to been that sacrificial lamb for this to happen. So I appreciate you, Kendrick. You know, King of the West Coast did his thing, and also too, I think the last thing I want to mention too that I enjoyed was the tribute to Nip. The tribute to Nip. Shout out to Nipsey Hussle, one of my favorite rappers of all time. And I appreciate that as well too, because like, and he was even saying too, like, man, I ain't been the same since Nip died. I ain't been the same since Kobe died. And I was like, we was dealing with two different mornings in like, in a year's time. You know what I mean? So that was super, super dope to see as far as, how he brought people together. He had Nip on the stage, and he made things shake. He made things shake. So shout out to you, Kendrick, man. Keep doing your thing, King of the West Coast. My name is Terrence Stewart, your men's mental health expert. I appreciate y'all tapping in. Y'all take care. Peace.